Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to StrokeHacker Live. This is your host today, Jerry Shelsta. I'm glad to have you here. Look, if you're just joining the show for the first time, or you if you've seen us before but you haven't shared, would you stop right now and go down below the frame and hit that share button, because the StrokeHacker community is about getting people to communicate. And the bigger the community, the better we're going to communicate with more people and share more information. So it's really important that you share this with your friends and family. So please go down, hit that StrokeHacker, or hit that, what is it called, share button, and put this out to some of your friends, all right? Now, I'd like to introduce you to our guest today. Uh, this is MaryLee Nunnally and Larry Schaer. MaryLee is the founder of Retreat and Refresh Camp and now United Stroke Alliance. And Larry is the CEO of United Stroke Alliance. Welcome, you guys. So nice to have you on the show.
Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. I'll in full disclosure, I worked with these guys for about 3 years. Having left just a little over a year ago. They're wonderful people, great hearts, doing wonderful things. So I thought it was a fun time. They do some great things with stroke survivors and caregivers, and they're doing a lot more now as they've expanded their programming for awareness and recovery. So let's talk a little bit about how this whole thing got started, MaryLee. As the founder, can you tell us a little bit about how this happened?
Oh, sure. I would love to. Want to move the camera just a touch?
Sure. Beautiful.
We're good? All right.
Yep.
Well, this whole journey was not planned. In 2001, my husband had a stroke at age 55. We had not been married long. We married late in life. And a few years after his stroke, as the 24/7 caregiver for a stroke survivor, and you all know what that's all about, I began to get a little bit lost in the caregiving responsibilities and understanding the brain and understanding stroke. So as self-serving as it was, I wanted to get to know the people in my support group better. So we planned a weekend retreat for stroke survivors and their caregivers at a local camp, church camp here in central Illinois. We're in Peoria, Illinois, but it was in central Illinois. And it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend retreat. And it was just phenomenal in the connection that we made, in the growth and the understanding that we had. So at the end of that weekend, it's like, let's do this again. I had worked closely with my sister and her husband, who had previously done camps for children with cystic fibrosis. So we knew the connection that could happen. It happened for our stroke friends just like it did 30 years ago for the cystic fibrosis children. So we decided to do it again the next year. And the next year.
So this was, you did one year, and then you did another one the following year.
The following year we did two, because
wow.
The word got out and the facility didn't hold that many people. All along, Larry and I had been friends for years, and I used to work for him. And we'd have lunch from time to time. And he said, "You're really onto something." And it was his idea that we might be able to take stroke camp to the people. Rather than, we were trying to figure out how to get people from all across the country to central Illinois conveniently, because we had people traveling 400 and 500 miles for a weekend retreat in the middle of nowhere in Illinois. So it was his idea that maybe we were onto something that could be a nonprofit, that could grow and could serve this population further than just here in central Illinois.
And so what was the next outcome? And maybe we pull Larry back in there. What happened next, Larry, when you got involved?
Well, we had to formalize what we were doing, so we incorporated as a nonprofit in 2007. And at that point, then we started looking at how do we promote this concept of doing two things in a community. One, bringing more stroke education awareness in the community, and also number two, supporting survivors and caregivers in that community. So they sort of work in tandem in a sense, because if the community understands stroke better, there's more chances to support survivors and caregivers. And the room and the converse of that as well. So in 2007, we had 5 camps, if I recall correctly. And each year we have grown since then. This last year we did 33 camps in about 21 states. And we continue to grow and develop, obviously, camps throughout the country. We're working with hospitals, stroke centers, either primary or comprehensive.
So say that again. You did how many camps this past year?
33 in 21 states. As you can imagine, working out of Illinois and creating the logistics of getting all the equipment supplies to 21 different states. And last year, we completed our 200th camp since MaryLee started in 2004.
Wow, what an incredible outreach. So you got 52 weeks in a year, and you did 33 of them, and a lot of those weeks aren't particularly good weather. So how do you get that many camps in all over the country to be able to do that number of camps in a season?
Well, we have some double camp weekends and we have some triple camp weekends. We now have increased our equipment that goes to these camps to 3 sets. So we can do as many as 3 simultaneous camps in any given weekend. We don't do that real often, but there's 2 or 3 times a year where we'll do 3 camps. There's a lot of times that we do 2, because our camp season goes from April or May and usually ends in early November. And because we're a diverse country, we can go to the warmer climates where it might be colder, up in Michigan or Minnesota or Wisconsin, where it's a little warmer when we go down south, maybe to Tennessee, Texas,
Sure.
or Arizona.
Sure. And then, from what I understand, you've also started with your mission, talking about there's the three pillars of your mission. You want to read those off?
Right.
Oh, well. So prevention, awareness, and recovery. Larry, do you want to talk a little bit about more? Well, first of all, also talk about how we got to United Stroke Alliance out of Retreat and Refresh Stroke Camp.
Well, when you start creating that type of network and drawing resources in from all over the country, we start hearing about what we need to do in addition to our camps. And obviously with our Strikeout Stroke events that we have been doing for the last few years, our campers wanted really for us to do more. So 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, we brought together a national board of directors who came up with the idea of creating an umbrella over all of our services, not in just camps, but our Strikeout Stroke, and our youth educational and stroke programs, etc. And they suggested that we have an umbrella company, organization, over all the activities and services that we provide. So that's when United Stroke Alliance was born. 2 years ago, we do have a national board, and our pillars now are prevention, awareness, and recovery. And our focus is how do we help communities develop a combination or a strategic model for their community in all 3 of those columns. And that's sort of our model that we're working on now, and helping to support communities that require, that need, and are interested in creating a community that's stroke friendly, that they've got obviously post-stroke activities, whether it's stroke camp or equine therapy or dance therapy. If they're doing youth education programs in schools, if they're doing public education programs like Strikeout Stroke, or the stroke chimers that we have in multiple communities around the country. So really looking at how we can help develop. But the bottom line for us, part of United Stroke Alliance's focus is how do we have impact on the number of strokes that are occurring each year in this country. With almost 800,000, that number has been consistent over year to year. And the thing that we are, I think, weakest in as a country, how do we get people to know, understand, and remember the signs of stroke? So if we can reduce the number of strokes, if we can reduce the level of deficits for stroke, then I think our model will be showing its proud mask bottle that can be used to reduce that. So
That's fantastic. So you rattled off a lot of things there that you've got going on. So it started with Stroke Camp, and real quickly, because we're getting close on time, real quickly, if people are interested in finding a camp, can they go to UnitedStrokeAlliance.org, which I've got up on the screen right now, or do they need to go to StrokeCamp.org? What would be best? And how does this person get to be involved in a stroke camp with their caregiver or care partner?
Okay, the StrokeCamp.org is where they'll find a link to the camp dates and times and locations. And they're posted as we get it. We're in the process now of getting the agreements, getting everything finalized. The first camp will be the first weekend in May, but we have some going all the way to November. So as we have the agreements, we post them on our website. Most of them are open for anyone to go whichever camp they want to go to throughout the country. So over the next month to 6 weeks, we'll be listing all of the camps that we'll be doing this year at that website. And it's just a quick, easy click, and you can register right there. If someone does not have access to register online, they can call our office, and we can mail them a paper version register.
Okay, so strokecamp.org if they want more information and locations.
Right.
And then I will post all of that information in the introduction here. So if people don't catch it right now, you can get it in the introduction for this Facebook post. So Larry, then what's next? I mean, what you talk about stroke survivors wanting more from you all. What do you all plan to do next?
I think we need to sort of work our model. We are now working on fundraising activities to help support those communities. So it's a pretty good sized model. We just need to run some pilots this year to get sort of it refined before we really take it across the country.
And the intent there would be to raise money locally to help support these kinds of programs within that region of the country that you all would be facilitating.
Exactly. Because that's one of the things we found in our experience is like many of these communities, even the hospitals, do not have funds to do the kinds of things that need to be done.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know in working with this program, working with the Strikeout Stroke program, it is always a challenge for people to have the money. As much of a terrible event a stroke is in a person's life, there's still not that adequate of funding within the hospitals and the medical communities to support not only prevention of, but then the aftermath of stroke. So thank you guys so much for what you're doing. Fantastic to have you guys on the show today, and potentially we can have another show later, go into a little bit more detail about some of the programs that you're doing. The idea here is to bring people together who work within stroke or within recovery from different kinds of injuries. And we're glad that you're doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And hopefully we'll get a few people coming your way and see the show today. So thanks a lot, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate all your help. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our pleasure. You all have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.